I think we've all heard of movies based on TV shows. What happens when a studio thinks a show is profitable enough to give it a chance on the silver screen? Or usually still the small screen because straight-to-TV movies are cheaper, or I guess straight-to-streaming now. Think the 3 SpongeBob movies, the Simpsons movie, the Phineas and Ferb movies, the South Park movie. But what happens when the opposite occurs? When a movie is seen as profitable enough to warrant further milking, but not quite a full-blown suckling yet, is seen by many as a terrifying and supernatural phenomenon. Shows based on animated movies. I'd like to talk about the first show based on an animated movie I was ever exposed to, The Penguins of Madagascar. The Penguins of Madagascar was so much of my childhood. I'm a weird kind of young that I remember it more than the actual Nicktoons. My parents would only really let me watch baby shows when they were in their prime. Also, shout out to Nickelodeon-owned Treehouse. That was great. Anyway, I think it's supposed to be a prequel to Madagascar, well, with all the animals still being the New York Zoo and not loose on the world. Something I really appreciate about this show is the fact that there isn't a massive drop in animation quality, nor a huge change in animation style. I guess DreamWorks had the budget after the combined billion-dollar success of the first 2 Madagascar films. The show on its own merited a bunch of spin-offs, and ironically, it paved the way for an underperforming movie later on, completing the circle of life. The Penguins segments of those DreamWorks holiday shorts were always my favorite. I think Canadian TV channel YTV, which if you don't know, took nearly all of its programming from Nickelodeon, would sometimes air the DreamWorks short separately, so I thought, wait. No, it was its own thing. The Penguins of Madagascar Christmas Caper. I always loved watching this around Christmas season. The plot revolves around the marketable plushie, Private, getting kidnapped by an elderly woman, and the other penguins have to save him before he gets mauled to death by the old woman's poodle. It's also where this meme comes from.
Kaboom! Yes, Rico. Kaboom.
The show has spawned a variety of memes, meaning I guess I'm not the only one in the world who's watched this. I would like to also give a quick honorable mention to Star Wars The Clone Wars, the TV show. If Penguins was the foundation of my childhood, then this was the monument. I had the Lego game on my DSi, but it's not based on an animated movie, so I don't get to talk about it in this video. I'd also like to briefly mention the Disney Channel original series shows like Tangled, the series, and Big Hero 6, the series, The Emperor's New School, The Lion Guard, Hercules, the animated series, Ariel, the animated series. There's too many for me to talk about all in this video. I might cover them in a dedicated video later on, but just know that these are what I refer to when I talk about change in animation / animation quality, where many of the movies these shows were based on were animated with 3D CGI, as Disney tends to do nowadays, but the shows all use 2D animation. Now, am I saying this is a bad thing at all, or that the shows are any worse because of it? Not at all, but they do make it notable when it stays 3D animated. For example, How to Train Your Dragon Riders of Berk was a TV show that ran from 2012 to 2018 over 4 seasons. Now, I do have a confession. I didn't watch How to Train Your Dragon as a kid, or at all, and I don't plan to. I can see the appeal the franchise has though from all the trailers and the memes, and anyone who's ever watched a How to Train Your Dragon movie tells me it's like the best franchise of all time, which is impossible because that honor goes to the Scary Movie franchise. So, Riders of Berk, apparently also called DreamWorks Dragons, the series, is one of the best and most earned animated spin-offs from what I can tell. It bridges the gaps between movies canonically, and again, it keeps the same 3D animation, which is beautiful. Speaking of 3D animation, and now this may shock and befuddle you, but I also count Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius amongst the shows based on movies. Although the movie was basically made to act as a pilot to the show, I think an argument could be made for the show, and by extension the franchise, wouldn't have been made if the movie was a flop. If by some miracle you've been living under a rock, or in utero, I guess, it's kind of old now, and don't know what Jimmy Neutron is, Jimmy Neutron is a show about a boy with a massive forehead, literally, who regularly breaks reality, time, and physics for his own amusement. How he's not in federal prison, I'll never know. I guess I should mention that technically Planet Sheen is also an extension of this movie, but I like to pretend this show doesn't exist. Now, what the HE double shit was that?
Hello, it is me, famous marketable character Boss Baby. I'm here to inform you that you're under obligation to talk about the Boss Baby Netflix series in this video.
What? I didn't sign any.
Start talking, bitch.
I see. The Boss Baby is certainly a prolific franchise, starting with the Boss Baby movie made by DreamWorks Animation released in 2018. It was a huge hit with children and people who shouldn't be allowed in a dark room full of children for an hour and a half. My fear of the Boss Baby fandom aside, it then proceeded to produce not one but 3 sequels, 2 of which being original Netflix series. Yeah, apparently there's a ton of people out there who watch this shit, enough so that they can make multiple multi-season shows with the same animation quality as the movies from what I can tell. For the most part, it seems like my compliments to DreamWorks Dragons also apply here. Same animation and that I assume canonicity to the movies. But you might ask how I know any of this. Well, my sister had a phase where it was like the only thing she would watch. So being in the same house as her, I was involuntarily exposed to it. Also, the main villain of the first one is like visibly a sex offender. The lore of these shows is that insane. I don't want to get too far into it, but I think there's literally a magic system introduced at some point. Now this may actually surprise you, but I generally don't have a problem with studios doing these, as for the most part, they're usually a long format way to see more of the characters you fell in love with during the movie. I'm even willing to say that for the most part, they're pretty good normally. Overall, shows can be great extensions to film franchises, but at the same time, they can be a blatant cash grab by companies. But you know, that's pretty vague, and that can be applied to any work of art. So my radical hot take is that these shows are always amazing, and never flop, and never miss, and they're the best thing ever, and I won't be fought on that. Good night, tri-state area.